Their chronic addiction to vapes, disposable vapes. These are the flavoured ones, and there are thousands of different flavours. You'd find it hard to believe that there could be thousands of different flavours, but by all accounts, there are all sorts of different combinations, and there are all sorts of different strengths. I mean, you would not be able to smoke as many cigarettes going through all of the amount of routine involved in buying a packet of cigarettes, finding somewhere it's okay to smoke outdoors, away from people, etc., etc. Vaping doesn't have that. You have like heavy duty 20 to 24 milligrams right into your system as often and as unlimited as you want. You couldn't smoke as many cigarettes the way people would smoke vapes and inhale the amount of nicotine involved in it. So from, say, for instance, a hypnotherapy or a psychotherapy aspect of it, and I'm wondering if psychotherapists or indeed those that are involved in hypnotherapy are coming across people addicted to vapes looking for ways out. Susan McElligott is in Carrigaline. She has her own clinics and joins me by phone. Susan, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. How are you?
I'm good. Are we now seeing, hypnotherapists and psychotherapists dealing with people for vape addiction?
Absolutely, yes. And I listened to your previous caller, Graham, and I made a few of my own notes. And some of the key words that are coming up is this, the buzz. If you're talking about vapes, just vapes now, Neil, you're talking about the flavours and the enticing younger people because it looks cool, and I won't say they're getting their 5 a day, but it just looks cool. And I'm looking from an emotional perspective as a hypnotherapist, psychotherapist. So I would deal with that. Obviously, I'm not dealing with the medical side of things. And your previous listener, Graham, he clarified the physical addictions, about the nicotine and the hit and the stimulant and all of that. So that's fine. I'm not going to state the obvious. When I have clients coming to me for hypnotherapy, it's usually coming to get off the emotional addiction. So there was a few words used there like rituals, routine, and also when Graham mentioned when he was coming off it, there was the anger, frustration, and these are all the buzzwords that I listen for as a hypnotherapist.
Because they're all associated with withdrawal.
And yes, and he spoke about the physical withdrawal, and of course that's the obvious. There's going to be a physical withdrawal, but when he mentioned anger, frustration, and then if he doesn't, there's the guilt, there's the regret. So I'm looking, as someone is talking to me in my office, I'm listening to what they're saying to me, but I'm really analysing and looking out for those buzzwords, the guilt, the shame, but also on a positive. And now this might be a very unusual question to ask a client is, what's in it for you? What are the big gains? What are the benefits? So people don't expect me to approach it from that angle. Like there are other hypnotherapists that would use a kind of a negative approach, look at your lungs diseased and all these pictures, and they've tried that approach on the back of cigarette boxes. The negative effects of smoking and so I don't know about the vaping, if it's got the visual impact on people, but definitely for the cigarette boxes you can see that diseased lungs. It doesn't seem to work though.
Yeah, I do know that Graham felt an awful lot better after he gave up the drink, the drugs and the fags, etc. And part of the cigarette journey involved vaping, and in the earlier time he was able to breathe better and deeper, and he had more energy, and he felt better. But when the addiction got worse and worse and worse, and he became an absolute slave to heavy-duty nicotine vapes, then there was fire in the lungs, then there was the chest tightness, then there was the palpitations and everything that went with it, and the serious addiction to it. So that would indicate that there are huge health implications, even though we don't actually have the studies yet to say. What disturbs me though is the junior cert kids that I see, or the leaving cert kids that I see in school uniforms vaping.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And if you look at it now, it might sound a bit strange to look at it this way. What are the positive gains? So if you ask anybody, even smoker, vapor, you ask them what are the positive gains, they say, oh, well, it's a sense of camaraderie. Oh, I can... Actually, with the vape, and Graham made that point earlier, is that you've got permission now to smoke in certain areas where you wouldn't have permission with a cigarette.
But surely the automatic answer that you would get to your question of What's in it for you? What's the positive of trying to... Sure, the one word is freedom, isn't it? It's freedom.
Freedom. That's what he said. Yeah, freedom. There's also the freedom. It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation here. There's also the freedom of when you give up. You know, there's a freedom of... freedom is a big word. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about freedom to vape. I'm saying what you're saying. What is the upside to stopping? The word is freedom. Freedom from being a slave to something.
That is true, but you're talking here about vapes, and if you were to differentiate between the smoking and the vapes, and one point Graham did make was, with the vapes, when he came off the cigarettes and then he went on to the vapes, thinking there was a better alternative, with the vapes you have, and this is what's happening at the moment until there are laws passed, like there were with cigarettes, with the vapes we have the freedom that we don't have with cigarettes. Now I know it sounds a bit of a contradiction here, but obviously there's the freedom when you give them up. So I'm looking here as a therapist, what's in it for you? So what are the positives? And I do a symptom substitution. So if we find something different. The brain doesn't like when you take away something. You take away an addiction, it leaves a gap, it leaves a void. So we need to fill that void with something that's giving you the same benefits or similar. So what are the reasons you first took up smoking or vaping? And I'm talking from an emotional perspective now, Neil.
What does it mean though, from an emotional perspective?
It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody.
It's a biological addiction to nicotine, isn't it?
That's eventually when you get hooked. Yes, it does. But initially, the very first cigarette could be age 12, 13, 14. I mean, there's no addiction at that point. You're 11 years of age and you're with your friends behind the school wall.
Yeah.
And so what is the benefit? The benefit is sense of camaraderie. I'm going to be left out if I don't join in.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's part of the 6 human needs. So this love and connection, wanting to be part of the gang. We don't want to be ostracized or on our own, looking a bit weird. And that's in the mind of an 11-year-old, we'd say. They don't have the logic we have and the knowledge we have right now of the dangers of smoking.
Yeah, or I had a few drinks and somebody offered me one and I took it and I tried it, blah, blah, blah. So what are the emotional disconnects for people then that they have to go through or worry about if they want to quit?
So what I would do then is I do a complete analysis, like it's a total profile. So I might be chatting, and again, my chat isn't really just a chat. I'll be analysing as people are talking to me. And they might say, oh, look, I need to give them up. And they might start laughing about something. And I straight away pick up on that. It's different for everybody that I encounter. So it's totally unique. I mean, you can go to cold turkey one and go through the anger, frustration, regret, and all those feelings. But what I do as a hypnotherapist, I do analytical work. And I also use a psychotherapy as well, different forms of psychotherapy. And CBT and NLP. Now, NLP is very, very effective treating smokers and vapors. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. So it's about basically upgrading the software in your brain, changing the way you see things, all about your perception, changing the way you process.
Is that hypnosis? Do you do that under hypnosis?
Yes, I do it. And hypnosis, you can have a waking hypnosis or conversational hypnosis. You know, you don't have to have your eyes closed for it. You don't have to swing a watch in front of them. Everybody goes into hypnosis all day long where, you know, you're driving the car and you're thinking of what I must do tomorrow, or, you know, you wonder who drove the car. You suddenly arrive at home, you don't remember half the road. So,
oh my God! You know, that's so true.
Who drove the car? Yeah. So all these.
No, I mean, do you know something? Sometimes that's amazing. Sometimes I can be driving west and I have to go from here to, say, Valencia or Portmagee. And there are times that I can't, and I thought it was because I'm getting older. There are times when I can't remember, have I actually gone through Killarney or not? Is the next stop Killorglin or Glenbeigh? It's the May. So but that's kind of daydreaming, right?
Yes, but what it is, okay, that's a simple word to use, but what's happening is you're going into the alpha state, which is a particular, we say brain wavelength, and it's a heightened state of awareness. So that's phenomenal that you can drive your car without even remembering.
I'm a dangerous driver. I'm not paying attention.
No, you're quite contrary. So isn't it phenomenal? So look at it as a positive. Isn't it phenomenal that your subconscious mind has driven the car for you?
That's amazing. I never looked into it that way. But it's also great to feel I'm not alone. So you're telling me there's others like me.
We're all the same. All of us. I'm sure you remember school daydreaming and told come back to, conscious awareness. The daydreaming is great.
That's amazing. But they say, if it was all so straightforward, they say that after day 3 without smoking, and that would include a fag or a vape, that after 3 days there's no nicotine in your system, so there should be no addiction. But
correct, yeah.
But that doesn't compute, because the addiction and the craving is there on 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. It gets worse.
Yeah. So the studies are there to say that there is, as you said, there's no chemical drug in your system, physiological. And I'm looking from a psychological point of view. And habit, we're creatures of habit. We have to have rituals. Now that name came up there earlier on. Graham mentioned the word rituals and routine. That's the way our brain functions, and that keeps us nice and calm when we have this routine. But you see, breaking the habit or the ritual, it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is doable.
Is it doable by not just putting somebody under hypnosis, Susan, and just putting the thought into their head under hypnosis that you don't smoke, you never smoked, you were never addicted, now wake up?
Right, no. I know, I'm laughing here at the idea of how simple.
Because I'm a simpleton, I'm putting it like it.
I'm like 2 hours with somebody trying to do that. No, what I do is I start off with the chat, and they might be talking. I said, tell me, do you have dogs, do you have animals? Oh, yes, and their face might light up. And so I'm using that, now imagine you're a Rottweiler and you're out at the beach and their face lights up. And so I'm getting into their world. I'm getting into their heads. And it's totally personalised. What works for one client won't work for another one. So when I'm saying about the smokers and vapors and any habit, in fact, I'm looking for the positive charge. There's already a charge. When I say charge, it's an emotional energy. So emotion is emotion, energy in motion. So we take the charge. It's like as if you have the iron plugged in and it's red hot, and you're walking around it, trying to avoid it, just like a smoke with your cigarettes. You're trying to avoid it, like Graham mentioned, a distraction, watching Netflix or something. Now, what I do is I pull the plug. So you don't have to worry about burning yourself off the iron. Pull the plug, and that is quite deep stuff. It's quite deep work.
But so can you pull the plug on somebody who has a craving?
Yeah, so what I do, this is maybe simplifying it again, so I look at the association they have with the craving. So what is the association? So I'm analysing the positive gains. They're called secondary gains. So I'm analysing what is it? Is it a sense of connection? Oh, yeah, I look cool. One lady mentioned about standing outside in the rain, smoking her cigarette and, getting her fix there. And I said, wow. And then I got her to see it from somebody else's perspective, or the part of her that's the healthy part will say. It's called a process of dissociation and association. So
I suppose it's fair to say that nobody actually ever took up smoking to end up out in a doorway in the lashing rain, smoking on a fag and actually enjoying it. It's not glamorous then.
Yeah. So what I do is I get her, it's a bit of, it sounds like a bit of a personality, but that's not how it works. So it's the part of you that's the non-smoking part. Say, for instance, I might say, what do you want? Oh, I see myself at the gym. I see myself out in the fresh air. So I get her to associate into that part of her and see herself and really build it up in her mind. This is what she wants.
Okay. Yeah.
So then what I do under hypnosis then, I get her to associate to her smoking part. And I see the smell, get the smell, and really what we're doing is getting to the olfactory senses, so she can smell the disgusting smell. And I get her really to associate with the smell on her clothes and, her health even. Imagine your lungs now and whatever, medical, I go through that with them initially, what is the medical implications of it. So then what I do under hypnosis, I get her to first of all associate into her healthy parts, that she can't wait to be that way. And then I get her healthy part to turn around. I know it sounds a bit wacky now here, but turn around and look at your smoking part. What do you think about her? So it's an inside job. It's an internal.
But they say then that the challenges for the likes of your good self are going to be an awful lot harder when it comes to vaping, because Graham said that if he was to take all of the drugs that he was on, all of the cigarettes that he smoked, and all of the drink that he consumed, vaping was the hardest thing to quit.
Yes, again, you look at dissociations. I bet if I was to talk to Graydon and find out and chunk it down, really chunk it down. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. I often compare. Give me all the jigsaw pieces. They're all your pieces. My job is to put those tiny little pieces together, and then we see the big picture. So you bring it to your conscious awareness. A lot of smoking and vaping is unconscious. It becomes an unconscious habit because that's the way our brains function. Any habit, when you start it off, I mean, how do you learn anything? You repeat over and over and over and over. Then it becomes a habit. And that habit then gets shelved into your subconscious, and it's habitual. It's habitual.
The habit doesn't need a thought process. It's a habit.
Exactly, you have it. That's how a habit is formed. So in order to unravel, it's like unraveling a jumper. You know, I always compare it. You know, long ago, you use a pattern of a jumper, and then you unravel it and knit it up the way you want it.
So with all of you, just finally, with all of the time that you spend dealing with people, whether it's hypnotherapy or psychotherapy, surely it's not all to do with cigarettes or vapes or cannabis or alcohol, is it?
Oh gosh, that's only one part of it.
What else then has become very, very prevalent now?
Social anxiety. Social anxiety is huge. Meeting people, dating scene, meeting people and going through the swipe right or left, I don't know which direction they swipe, but anyway, they find people are coming in on dates and they're not, or they're unpacking their suitcase there. They're bringing the baggage from the previous relationship into the next one. They haven't done their work, the personal development side of it, and this is what I'm finding a lot. There are women and men out there that are looking for their ideal partner and they can't seem to find it, and they're giving up.
Because they're unloading too much on the person they don't even know. They ain't going to get a second date that way.
Yes, but they're not dealing with their stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Before they decide that it's time to move on and find somebody they haven't dealt with. Yeah. But tell me, Are you saying that the social anxiety, has that peaked since COVID or what?
It has done, and also the drinking. Alcohol addiction as well seems to be linked to the social anxiety. So somebody comes to see me for social anxiety and they need a few drinks before they go out to try and build up courage,
It's always been that way with a lot of people though, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, but I'm coming across it quite a lot. The social side of things and just work. Because we're living in a faster pace of life now, and people even in the canteen at work, and I should be performing this way and I should, and then they lose their sense of self because they're acting all the time. But I always quote what Shakespeare said: life is a stage and we are all merely the actors.
Well, absolutely, but I can't help but think that because of the isolation of COVID for that period of time when people got into a different way of doing things, and then, of course, when all of that ended, they threw into the mix this working from home disaster where everybody's working in a converted bedroom, or they got a table next to a bed. All of that is increasing people's psychological disassociation.
Definitely.
Isn't it? Am I wrong?
Yes. No, you're correct. Absolutely. And if there's, children at home as well, and trying to find childminders and trying to work in an environment where you get privacy, it's very difficult for people, and that can play on their mental health as well. But what I do is I give them tools. So it's not just like I have a master's in counselling, but I don't use the counselling part so much as the hypnotherapy combined with cognitive behavioural therapy and the NLP, the neurolinguistics, is absolutely phenomenal. Okay. So I was on air with you, I don't know when was, last year or the year before, it was about a dog phobia. And there was a lady who, I did one session for a 40-year dog phobia.
I recall that. Yeah, she had a fear of dogs.
One session. Yeah. And I've done...
She didn't have one session. You got a house full of dogs now. She's open kennels, is she? You're a dog grooming company.
But phobias, arachnophobia, fears by people going to Australia and they're going to come across big spiders and they need help with that. And any...
Wow, that is such a varied profession. Food issues? Yeah. Would you be dealing with people who might have...
Very interesting. I do the HypnoBand program is a gastric band surgery done under hypnosis in a virtual theatre.
Oh, I love that. It's kind of VR. It's the VR version of going to Turkey for an elastic band around the gullet.
Well, But obviously, and that's done with, I put on headphones. Obviously, I do the analysis first to find out what is exactly you want.
So you make people believe and convince them that they have a gastric band.
Yes, that's kind of what it does.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And I put on these headphones, and it's got binaural beats or sound wave technology embedded in the audio.
So does it mean that people then ultimately, after they leave, they believe they can only eat tiny under hypnosis and suggestion? They eat tiny amounts of food.
Yeah, there's a few sessions. There's about four or five sessions of it, but they're very intense sessions. I mean, the audio part is only a little portion of it, but I do the analysis first to find out what exactly do you want, and then use the hypnoband.
Wow, you're way ahead of the curve, in fairness to you. Well done. Okay, well, listen, people can get in touch with if they wish to follow up on any of the topics that we had this morning. CarolineHypnotherapy.com, isn't that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and also you're willing to help if anybody, because the topic this morning is vaping, so I'd be encouraging people to get more calls in on that one.
I work with children as well, Neil. I work with children a lot for traumas, and as young as 4,